Good morning, mathematicians. It is Thursday. We are sliding in to home plate on week 13, finishing it out today. And we're going to start with a little bit of a different context than what we've been seeing so frequently. We've been being asked to write expressions, but here we're not being asked to write an expression. We are being asked to write a fraction to show how much is shaded. So this we're actually going to represent the answer, right? We're going to represent what fraction of this is shaded. So the first thing I want to think about is not the shading and the non-shading. I just want to figure out how many individual squares does this overall rectangle have? Well, it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is a 7 by 5 array, isn't it? So because of that, I know that there are 35 individual squares in this rectangle. Now, how many of those 35 have shading? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I actually see 12 more over here. So there's 12 here, there's 12 here. That tells me that my numerator should be 24. So my answer to this question is 24/35. And we have finished question one. Now, this one's kind of fun. This says bread kit has 1/3 of a baguette left. That reminds me of like Panera. Think of those big baguettes that Panera has. That's what a baguette is, right? Now he has how much left? He has a third left. He shares this among his four friends. How generous. Now, the first thing we're asked is to draw a diagram to represent the situation. Now, that doesn't mean I have to like draw it just exactly how Panera has it. I could represent it in a tape diagram, right? We don't have to realistically draw out a baguette of bread. Here, I've got a tape diagram. This represents the whole baguette. So here, this represents one whole baguette. But he didn't have a whole baguette left. How much did he have left? He had a third left. So I'm going to go ahead and separate this to show that really, boys and girls, this was like the portion that he had left. This was a third of that baguette. That's what was left. Now, he was feeling generous and he decided to share that among how many friends? Four friends. So this 1/3 of a baguette, it needs to be divided further into fourths. So we have friend one, friend two, friend three, friend four. And that is a diagram to show the above situation. We have finished part one. Now, down below, it says to write a division expression to represent how much of the baguette each friend gets. Well, what is being broken up and divided? Is it the baguette of friends? Well, I hope it's not friends. Indeed, it's not. It's the baguette that's being broken up and divided. How much of that baguette do we have? We have a third of the baguette. That baguette is going to be shared among how many? It's going to be shared among four, right? So that is what the expression would look like. We would have 1/3 divided by four. This says expression, it doesn't say equation. So you don't have to get to the answer. But if you were going to, this is a great opportunity to think how much of the baguette would each friend actually get? Well, if one friend got this much of the baguette, how much of the whole thing did they get? They got one of these four pieces. But how does that represent the entire thing, right? Well, this third would have four pieces. And if we equally divided this, there would be four more pieces here and four more pieces here. That would be like 12 pieces for the whole baguette, and they would get one of the 12. So if we were asked to give the answer to this, we would say that each friend gets one, 12. Oh man, this was an equation, which is not what we were asked to do, but I couldn't resist this opportunity to tie it back to that. Maybe it's just because it reminded me of a delicious Panera baguette and I didn't want to leave the question behind. But a good opportunity to think about what it actually means in relation to the entire baguette. One more question for today. Write an expression to represent the below diagram. Well, let's think about this diagram. This whole thing is what I'm seeing, right? So I have a big rectangle and I see these smaller portions. Now, each of these smaller portions represents how much? Each of these smaller portions represents a half. And how many of those halves do I have? One half here, two, three, four. How many one halves do I have? I have four of them. So I could, of course, say one half plus one half plus one half plus one half. That would work. But I could also say that it is one half times four. Isn't that an expression to represent the diagram? Absolutely. Now, it did not ask us to take it to an equation, but if it did, this would be one whole, wouldn't it? One half here, and look, this would be another whole, one half here, one half here. So once again, we know that a half of four equals two. Another good opportunity to think about equations, even though that was really kind of outside the scope of the question. Our week 13 is finished.